Denver Johnson saying, Nuria, there has been an alarming trend of kids born to Brit Pakistani families with physical and learning disabilities due to interfamily marriages. I think we haven't covered that detailed BBC report because of consanguineous. What's how I can never pronounce that word.
Yeah, basically cousin marriages.
Yeah, so I should have used that one, but I thought I'll give it a try. But I shouldn't do that live.
10 out of 10 for effort.
It's so yeah, basically due to cousin marriage, the BBC did a detailed report, and I think the largest ethnic group that has these genetic diseases are Pakistani Brits.
Yeah, they are the highest. The highest rate is prevalent amongst Pakistanis still to this day. And yeah, no, Denver, you're right. Thank you so much for highlighting that. And the report Harris is talking about is actually really, really good. And I think I've seen some further documentaries on that because it's now being like seen as such a big issue that they're trying to cover it more and more in like mainstream media without being, overtly like this is a problem within this community only. But yeah, it is definitely. And to be honest, when I was looking into it as well, it doesn't happen, Horace. And like Pakistan is the biggest country in the world to like have this concept of cousin marriages and retain it to this day, and still actively like cousins. It goes, for example, like it's not even this generation. It's like their parents were also first cousins, and sometimes their parents were first cousins. So
when it gets amplitude, that's when it gets amplified.
Exactly. And then there's more and more risk of things going horribly wrong, genetic deformities, mutations. I personally know of an instance where a couple, their first child died really early on, and it was the exact same reason. And people aren't understanding how dangerous this is. And I'm sorry, in a world full of so many people, why do you have to get married to your cousin? It's honestly ridiculous. But again, the fact that we know Islam allows it, and in the Quran, it also mentions that, they are halal for you to get married to, basically. That's why a woman has to, even after a certain age, like technically wear hijab in front of her male cousins. Whereas in the West and everywhere else, we almost consider them like just another, like a part of your immediate family, almost like a brother. And this is considered incest on every level in the West, but in Pakistan, it's totally okay.
And it's funny, they always ask us, "Oh, you atheists, you can sleep with your sisters." No, man, you guys already do.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's some key facts. The number of babies born with birth defects in Bradford is nearly double the national average. Research conducted in the city has shown. The study found this was largely because of marriages between first cousins in the Pakistani community. Now you try the next word.
Consanguineous. I don't know.
Consanguineous. Yeah, consanguineous. I think that's it. Consanguineous.
Consanguine.
Consanguineous marriage, basically cousin marriages, accounted for nearly a third of abnormalities in a study of more than 11,300 babies. Now, researchers said the risk of birth defects among children of blood relatives remained small at 6%. The study looked at babies involved in the Born in Bradford (BIB) project, a long-term health study of thousands of people born in the city between 2007 and 2011. So this study doesn't even go that deep. Now imagine how far back they could go. About 1.7% of babies in England and Wales are born with a birth defect such as heart problems or Down syndrome. Okay, 1.7. That's still that must be normal. But among babies born in Bradford, the rate was nearly double that at 3%. So, and the study included
informed choices. Sorry.
The study included 43 different ethnicities, but the largest ethnic groups were Pakistani, 45%, and white, just under 40%. Even though, there are obviously white British are way more they're way more numerous than the Pakistani community, but they're still disproportionately taking the biggest chunk of these genetic diseases.
Mm-hmm. And just to focus on the next line as well, that's when it really becomes an issue, when also their parents and their parents go back as being cousins. That's when it's like it's just exponentially the risks are enhanced. And that's why they're saying 30% of the 5,127 babies of Pakistani origin had married parents who were first cousins.
Yeah, Yeah, so it's terrible. And again, all of that is come from that Quranic verse. Do not marry former wives of your father, except what was done previously was indeed a shameful, despicable, and evil practice. Oh, do not marry former wives of your fathers, but you can marry the former wives of your adopted sons. Because
Yeah.
Muhammad got a little boop boop. Also forbidden to you for marriage are your mothers. Oh, genius. Your daughters. Oh, very genius. Your sisters. But
Oh
that's
God,
where it
this is
stops. Your
ridiculous.
paternal and maternal aunts. Your brother's daughters. Your nieces. Oh, your sister's daughters. Oh, right. Nieces. Sorry, sorry. You didn't have to tell us, mate. Your foster mothers. How come?
But look at this eloquence, Horace. Like, who could write this well?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
the seventh
Because
century, your sister's daughters, your foster's mothers, your foster's sisters, your mother-in-law, your stepdaughters.
But you
Great
know what's
stuff here.
yeah, but you know what's happening? What's happening is this Arabic. It's all basically rhyming these words. Look,
Yeah.
umhatakum wa binatakum
Yeah.
wa. How do you read this? Wa akhuvatakum
Akhwatukum. Yeah.
wa umatakum. Like there you go.
Yeah.
Kum. Yeah, it's ending. It's all rhyming. Kum 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 kum.
Yeah, that's the term for them in Arabic, like as a
Yeah.
plural.
So
So
yeah,
they
because
rhymed
it's
it well.
yeah, he's rhyming it. That's why they go like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's so beautiful. You don't understand Arabic. That's why you don't realize how beautiful it is." I don't care about how beautiful it is. I want to see how pathetic it is. Look at this. Your
Yeah.
foster
Look at
mother.
the content. Who
Your
cares about the
mother's-in-law.
rhyming scale?
Oh, your mother-in-law. Well, yeah, I know you can't marry your mother-in-law, but what if it's no longer your wife? Actually, good question. Your stepdaughters. Oh, so all you naughty people watch these stepdaughters videos on your favorite websites under your guardianship. If you have consummated marriage with their mothers, but if you have not, then you can marry them. Oh, okay. Your stepdaughters so you can marry them if you haven't had sex with their mothers. So
Yeah.
there wouldn't be your stepdaughters then, would they? Nor the wives of your sons or two sisters together at the same time, except what was done previously. Sure, Allah is forgiving them.
So
Okay. Also forbidden are married women except female captives and your cousin. This is your Allah's commandment to you. Lawful to you are all these beyond these. Okay, so
Allah's
there you go.
commandment to you is sex slavery. There you go.
Yes. Lawful to you are all beyond these. So beyond this, everyone is included. When that key the biggest mistake when Muhammad was busy rhyming, you know what else? Well, what's the most important group of people he forgot to mention in this?
Who?
Grandmothers
Oh my goodness. I
and
mean, the fact that we
grandfathers.
have to cover it, yeah.
Yeah, so look, it
Bloody
says,
hell.
lawful to you are all beyond these. Beyond these are lawful to you, so you can marry your grandmothers. Then they will say, oh, it's common sense.
Please don't give them any extra
They know it.
ammunition to do weird things.
Nah, mate, they know
Totally
it.
unacceptable things.
They know it. And guys, like when every time they come to me and they say, oh, you hate this, you can marry your sisters. I'm going to say, you muzzies, you can freaking marry your grandmothers. Oh, no, we don't. Like, what if I prove to you? Always, I got to remember this, 422, 424. We got to remember this. So, yeah. So,
Yeah,
based on this.
Story, you won't forget it.
Yeah. But based on this, they infer, because, it's not written there anywhere that you can marry your... I think there is a verse for that as well, that you can marry. But according to if that verse hadn't come, you could still infer from this. It says that quite clearly. Other than these women, you can marry anyone, including sex slaves. It says that quite clearly. So here, it's kind of... so that's where it comes from, that you can marry your cousins, and that is the reason that why we have all these cousin marriages and all these problems in the West.
And I just want to address this, Horace, by Abhishek Kumar, because he goes, exactly, Nuria, why do they need to marry their cousins? There are so many Pakistanis in the UK, why they need to import from back home? I've heard it's to keep the wealth in the family. Is this true? That was a great question, and to be honest, it is definitely true to a certain extent, for sure. A lot of Pakistani culture and a lot of people who have emigrated were essentially like, you know, landowners, and like a lot of their wealth is tied up in land. And it is a genuinely like held common belief that if you marry in the family or a close relative, obviously that wealth is not going to be divided outside of the family, or it's not going to go to non-Muslims that you marry or a white man that you marry. And there is always this paranoia in terms of like inheritance and how wealth is divided and people screwing each other over for property. So the general consensus is, yeah, if you can't marry somebody that your family already knows, then like you first look inwards into your family, look at your cousins, that's the first line of like choice. And then if you can't marry any of them for, you know, whatever age difference reasons, or because it's freaking disgusting, sorry, then you also, like, even within certain communities, you look within the community, you look within your tribe in certain aspects, you look within your village, you look within your like little area of where you live. So there is definitely this level of paranoia into like safeguarding wealth and keeping it in the family. Keep it in the family is what their motto is. Keep everything in the family. But yeah, a great question, and I hope I answered it.
This is a big answer. The Quran doesn't address exceptions in a verse like this. It's talking about what was common at that time. No one marries grandmother or granddaughter. So give me evidence where the kuffar were marrying their sisters and mothers. Give me the evidence of that. You wouldn't find anything. So it's the same bullshit that they gave you, kind of like when they said what was happening. Like they used to bury their daughters, and you know, which is all BS.
There's no evidence for that.
Yeah. So tell me. Also forbidden for you to you are your mothers, your daughters, your sisters. When was this common that there were people were marrying their mothers? So horny people were marrying their mothers, but they would leave their grandmothers. You could have a hot 40-year-old grandmother at that time. So don't give me that, oh, grandmothers are old, that's why they didn't want to have. There's so many granny effers. There are everywhere. So tell me where Quran is definitely talking about the exceptions. Allah just forgot about grandmothers, bro. This is one of the most embarrassing points on your book. Because again, wa umhata, this takum, this Allah is just doing that, by the way. So, and then in another verse, he addresses this. You are allowed to marry the daughters of your paternal uncles and aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncle and aunt who have emigrated like you. So that's the verse where which sanctions that, and it says everyone else allowed other than that you're allowed to marry them. So Fahad Khan, mate, you can do all these mental gymnastics. I know you can twist and turn and jump up and down. It's a problem. If he doesn't address exceptions, he just literally wrote a paragraph. It included foster daughters, stepdaughters, this and that, uncles, brothers, sisters, and you can't do any of that. To help me produce more videos like these, support me on Patreon or PayPal.